Unemployment rate in the United States has reached a new all-time high of 4.1%. But let me take you back. Not all-time high for like the last 20 or 30 years, but in the last couple of years.
It's ticking up, yeah.
Yes. I think that's a lot of the news articles. A lot of people are talking about unemployment rate has gone up. It's at 4.1%. Oh my God, it's scary. It's not a good thing, of course, because these are people that are, obviously losing their jobs or unemployed. But if you zoom out and you see where we were, back in pre-COVID levels, I mean, it's not terrible. But we'll talk more about, what's going on with unemployment and all that.
Yeah. And hopefully you haven't lost your job. If you're out there, we feel sorry for you, but we're going to explain a little bit what's going on and how you can prepare for this. Yeah.
So ever since 2020, we had the pandemic, interest rates were super low. So people could borrow money for low, to buy a house.
Even before the pandemic.
Since 2012, I believe, since after the housing crashes. Yeah, so since 2012, money was cheap. Houses were, interest rates were like at 3 or 4%, 4.5%. Buying a car was cheap. Everything was cheap. Back then you could buy a car with 0% interest.
Because it stimulates the economy. Yeah. Because we experienced a recession. So the only thing that the Fed can do is make your money, make you more available to buy a house, purchase a car, or do all the stuff that everyone does.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like he says, it lowers rates so that we can stimulate the economy so people can have access to, etc. But here's the thing. This is something that, back in, I think it was 2022, since it was at 0%, they were raising it by 0.25% and then by 0.5% and then 0.75%. They raised it all the way up to over 5% in the course of a year, which is the fastest they've ever done it ever, actually. It's the fastest rate, increase in our history. The Federal Reserve did it. Mostly why? Because inflation was so bad. Everything was so expensive. The whole point of them to increase interest rates is so that people can stop buying stuff, relax, stop buying houses, stop buying cars. We need to chill for a little. The economy is growing. It's great.
It's too hot.
But it's growing at a fast rate, too fast of a rate where, it was just, inflation was crazy. I mean, you guys know it with your groceries and houses and everything got expensive.
And I think another reason why they went so tough was because the year before they were saying inflation is going to go away. Don't worry, it's transitory. So it almost seems like, okay, we kind of messed up there and made inflation worse. So now we have to be more harsh because it wasn't usually it's a slow increase versus it almost felt like every meeting was oh shoot.
Increase. It was an increase, but how much is an increase?
Yeah.
So that's a little, context of what's going on in the economy. But here's the thing. This is something that happens when you raise interest rates so much. Eventually, all those businesses that were getting easy access to free money, sometimes they're not accessible to that. And what happens, the economy starts to contract. It starts to grow less. That means businesses start to shut down, which means people start losing their jobs. And at the end of the day, the Federal Reserve knows this. They raise interest rates and they know that it could lead to unemployment rate increasing. But they're doing that because they have two goals. The Federal Reserve has two goals, okay? So let me show you what their two goals is: maximum employment and price stability. Federal Reserve Bank, like that picture here shows, right?
Balance.
So it's a balance. They want to have a balanced market where people are getting jobs, it's accessible, unemployment rate is low. I don't think it's ever going to be 0%. And then price stability. Inflation their goal is at 2% or low, or lower. Now, that's a perfect economy. Right now, it's not like that. Right now, as they're lowering this, inflation has gone down, and it's actually going down. But what's happening, it's starting to go up. When this goes up, that potentially could lead to a recession, which that is one of the things that he said, Jerome Powell. Here's a quote: "Cutting rates too soon or too much could lead to further tightening." Because if they cut it way too fast or way too soon, just like the increase is super fast, if they do the exact same down, honestly, I don't think anyone even knows what could happen, but obviously it might not be the best thing because inflation is just going to come back even stronger than before, probably.
Well, like you said, we've seen it actually before when they did do that. They raised interest rates and they cut too soon and it went even crazier inflation. And then they had to be even harsher, which caused the economy for almost 10 years to be just stagnant. Houses weren't increasing, employment wasn't increasing. It was kind of a really bad state of the economy.
And interest rates were almost 20%. That's why the boomers are making fun of us millennials, Gen Z. 7%, that's nothing. I was paying almost 20% interest on my home. And it's just insane. I went to an open house the other day and someone was saying that the house that they bought, before buying that house, this is an old guy. He's like 70s. His first house he ever bought, his mortgage was $115 a month. Okay, his first house,
$115.
$115 a month.
Yeah,
No. And his second house that he moved to in another city, his dad warned him, his friends warned him, "You're stupid. Why would you move to that house? It was gonna triple his payment to $300 and something."
And where was this at though?
La Mirada.
Oh wow! So here in California.
Yeah, here in California.
Wow.
So he said, "I don't know how I did it. It was super risky." And I'm thinking $300, like not even the utilities probably. Like that's insane.
But also we got to remember, probably their hourly rate was a lot different.
Yeah,
how much
quarters
they were
probably. They're probably making quarters per hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and he retired because he had a printing company. He said, I can't survive anymore in this economy.
Wow.
But yeah, that's what happens. You know, like inflation causes prices to go up. And that's why interest rates, the Federal Reserve's goal is to kind of have like, hey, we know inflation is going to keep doing its thing, but we want to control it. And as you guys can see, this is a chart that shows like, just like the interest rates, it's connected to, you know, houses. When you buy a house, on average, since like 2012, I guess, to like before COVID, it was around like 3 to 5. It looks like high 3s and then high 4s, like under 5% has been the interest rate average. And then it slowly went down and down and down the interest rate all the way down to it was like under 3% to buy a house. Okay. And then out of nowhere, it just shot up super high. And we're at a place right now where prices are kind of high, definitely higher than where they were before COVID. They're not as high as, 2022 where it was really, really crazy, but the interest rates are super high too.
I was reading a stat that inflation since 2019 is still like around 22, like on average. Some things are higher and lower, but on average, we're still 22% higher on prices of homes, cars, or anything that you're buying in your groceries compared to was 5 years ago.
So the question is, what's going to happen? Like I said, the Federal Reserve eventually has to cut rates because they're not going to keep it. They're going to be they're going to be pressured by people to start, the rich people, obviously, because they like playing this game of it going up and down. Well, they'll make money one way or another.
Actually, that's one thing that is very interesting when you listen to people who want cuts is people like us.
Oh, well, yeah.
The rich people, they love high interest rates because what is all these banks offering?
But also assets.
Yeah, they love these high interest rates because their money is making, for the first time in like almost 20 years, they're actually earning money. That's why our grandparents used to say, save your money. Yeah, because back then, the money on your bank was earning interest, and for the first time, it's like me. I'm earning interest on my money, which I never in high school.
That wasn't a thing. You had to invest into the stock market.
Yeah,
but yeah, like
even people who have houses who are under, they like you said, they got it under 4%. They don't really care about the interest rate going up or down.
They got the golden handcuffs.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's
those that want to buy a house, like our generation. Or anyone that's like stuck in a place where maybe they grew a family and they have a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom where they're like, I need a bigger house.
Condo, townhouse. Yeah, I've heard it many times. Yeah, so we're in a weird place right now, with unemployment. And it's very interesting because, I've talked personally to people that have struggled to find jobs, and it's been really hard. People around me that have heard that people are struggling to find jobs. But is it really, really bad yet? No. Like most people that I know have jobs, they have money. That's probably why inflation hasn't gone down that much. And I know you're showing that. It's California.
Yeah, because right now we're talking about the U.S. in total, the whole country. But depending where you live, the inflation rate might be lower, higher, depending. And here in California, we actually have a lot higher. We actually have 5.2, so almost a percentage higher than that. And almost roughly 1 million people that are unemployed and who are claiming unemployment right now are 419,000 as of July 6th.
And that's May. The percentage that's in May, and we're already in July.
Yeah, this is the May.
Almost entering August. So if it went up nationally, I'm pretty sure this went up too. The California.
Yeah.
If nationally we were hitting close to 5%, I think for sure they would be dropping rates.
Yeah.
Because that's already high nationally.
Yeah. And there's another graph here that shows, okay, what's the age group that's being affected the most by this? And if you see here, in 2020, the people that benefited the most from all the money printing, low interest rates were actually the 16 and 24. If you see that, they had the craziest jump, because they probably...
Minimum wage went up a lot.
Minimum wage, but also they probably had a first job for 4 or 5 years, and all these opportunities to make. We saw it online. I make 200K. I make working remote. So they saw their wages go up like crazy.
Side hustle economy.
Side hustle, you know, social media. A lot of people were doing like all these side hustles, and now we're returning just back to normal. That's also the thing we have to remember. We had like this almost like a candy rush for 2020 to 2021 where people were making money that we couldn't imagine making that much money. But now we're returning back to normal. And everyone else between 25 to 50, like it's returning back, but they're still pretty high and they might not be feeling as much. But if you're 16 to 24, you're feeling it the most.
Yeah, so that's where we are right now. And I think I've read before in an article that, you know, California is a leading indicator when it comes to because, you know, it's so diverse, the economy and people and everything. So if that's the state that looks like it's 5.2, then that's where the nation as a whole can eventually lead to.
Yeah. But I have a question. If the Federal Reserve's dual mandate is price stability and maximum employment, and yes, right now unemployment's going high, maybe some states less and more, but if you see this chart here, the overall participation rate among the age groups of 25 to 54, which is kind of like the prime working age, this guy posted this. Right now, we're pretty much back to normal where we were prior to COVID and actually the 2000s. We're around 83% of the U.S. economy, U.S. workers working that have a job, that have a paycheck. So if their dual mandate is price stability and unemployment, a lot of people argue, then why did they need to cut rates if, yes, right now everyone has a job, maybe they don't like it, but they have a job. So why would they cut rates now versus wait? Since that's like their only ammo. If they cut too soon, like they said there, if they cut too soon and everyone has a job, they might see a spike in inflation.
I think the issue with the unemployment and inflation and everything is, I mean, I see it, even myself, like, and everyone around us, is that people are only able to survive because maybe they have two sources of income, two jobs, a full-time and part-time, or now the wife and the husband both work, or etc. And so it is true that people, you know, maximum employment people are working, but they're having to work more than they like. I know a lot of people that have to work more than they have to just survive. So people reach a breaking point eventually, you know, especially recession is the only reason why they would basically start lowering rates.
Yeah. And then I was seeing another stat how this whole talk about interest rates really doesn't affect that many people. Like this guy, Charlie, he posted another stat. Well, like inflation, the change of interest rates of people with households, there's only like 11% of people in the U.S. who have a variable interest rate that moves depending on the interest rate. So the vast majority, that means almost like 80 to 90% of the people who have a house, they don't affect where the interest rates goes higher and lower. So it just puts another reason why they don't see a reason why to cut interest rates if it's not going to make a difference. These people have a low interest rate. It won't really affect them.
Yeah, so we're in a weird place, basically. Yeah. Just to summarize everything, we really don't know what's going to happen with unemployment, but what were you going to say something?
One more stat, though, because for me in my headspace, I'm more of like, I think they're going to hold, because what happened at the beginning of the year, they said experts, 100% of experts said we're going to have, 6 or 7 cuts. We're going to have 6 or 7 cuts, and what happened to the stock market, to prices of houses, to cars, everything. They started, if they're going to cut rates, boop, they elevated their prices, and then we haven't even seen a single cut, and we're already more than halfway through the year. So we got to remember, right now, the Fed does forward guidance. And if anybody doesn't know what that means, is they like to talk what they're going to do, hoping that the market, that you as the buyer or the seller is anticipating that, so reacts to it. So right now, the Fed would not have press conference like they do now. No one was watching on social media. What are they going to say? And blah, blah, blah. They usually would just wake up one day and say, oh, look, they raised the interest rates or lowered it. So the Fed now, what they're trying to do is move the market before reacting. So that's one thing we have to be cautious.
Test the waters.
Test the waters to see, okay, is inflation really done? And they notice in the beginning of the year, they're like, oh, no. If we cut now, this thing's going to go crazy. But then I have another stat. This guy, Charlie, if you guys want to learn about any stocks, he has a good podcast. I learned so much about him. He puts stats all the time on Twitter, Instagram, wherever you find him. And he has this one post that really got me thinking. He says this: the U.S. unemployment rate is now at a 0.7 above the cycle low from April of 2023. Historically, that 0.7 move higher has occurred near the start of a recession. So what he's saying here in this post, and you can see here more clearly, he posts like what happens historically in the past. Every time the unemployment goes from, look how it was before in 2020, it was 3.4 and it went up 0.7. If you see here in the past, almost every single time we were already 2 months into a recession or just about to start, 2 months or 1 month later, we were in a recession, 6 months. So what he's trying to post here is maybe they are going to cut, because if we look back in history, almost since 1945, way back in the days, this move of unemployment says we might already be in a recession. And that's one thing that a lot of people say. Yeah. I see on social media, they're all like, I think we are in a recession. They just don't want to declare it because remember, we're in an election year.
Yeah, there's a girl, Danielle DiMartino Booth. Yeah, she's the one that says that.
Because she used to work for the Fed.
Yeah, she works for the Fed. So she's not just some random YouTuber.
She used to work.
She used to. And now she's a consultant. That the actual recession started in October of last year, according to her. And she says that usually in recessions after they occur, is they go back and revise. Actually, the unemployment was this high. Actually, this, and that. And they've already been doing it like every month. You see that, actually, jobs report. They have to update the jobs report. There was less jobs added than it really was. So, I mean, yeah, we could already be in a recession. They're just trying to, cover it up. It's just like when you have a family situation and it's the parents. You don't want the kids to find out. You try your very best for them to never find out. But eventually the truth comes out and it causes all sorts of havoc and chaos. So that could be a potential too. And yeah, the hard thing about all of this is the election year, especially with everything going on with Trump almost getting assassinated. And it's just crazy. And then people are trying to tell Biden to step out, but he doesn't want to step down. So it's like, what is going to happen? I really don't know. And Trump hated Jerome Powell, and now he says, no, you could stay. Finish your term.
He recently told him, don't cut.
Yeah.
Because he like I said, like if they cut too soon, like it'll be the worst if he's like horrible.
His legacy will not be good.
Yeah. But one thing that's really funny is we say we're going to recession, not recession. The U.S. Airline travel, we've keep crushing it. People are still traveling, which that's like another side. Maybe we're not hitting a recession because people are still traveling more than ever before. Or like you said in previous episodes, people are going to pay with their credit cards. And
that's what it is. It's not that they had disposable income. They just like want to continue with that mentality of, I can afford this. I deserve this.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's where we are with unemployment. Let us know what you guys think. What will happen? Especially with the election year, it's going to affect a lot of things.
Right down below, do you think we are or we're going to head into a recession? What do you guys think?
We'll see you guys in the next show.